back of the rim. Got it! Oh, the slam! Oh, using Curry way downtown. Oh, what a shot from Curry!
I've been watching the NBA in some shape, way, or form for roughly 20 years. Here in January of 2023, I can pretty confidently say I don't think I've seen the NBA like this. With the audience this video hopefully reaches, I'm sure people will comb through 20 years of basketball and be able to nitpick and say, yeah, you've seen it like this before. And you know what? I've seen some damn good seasons, so I won't even argue with you. However, I'm gonna do my best to explain how, with the combination of talent, situation, new rules we have, and outlook on the future, this might be the most unique season I've seen. I've also been able to see it up close multiple times thanks to the sponsor of this video, SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticket app with over 28 million downloads. There's more than 70,000 events every single day on SeatGeek, including sports, concerts, festivals, and more. However, if you're watching this video, it's likely that NBA games would be the most important to you. And not only have I used SeatGeek to get my NBA tickets plenty of times, I've used them recently. I choose them because they make everything super easy. They want to make sure you're getting a good deal, so when you're on the app, look for green dots because green means good and obviously red means bad. When you see a ticket you might like, you click on it. It even shows you a general idea of what you would see from that seat. Every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee, and SeatGeek is the only site that lets you return your tickets ahead of the event with swaps. And as usual, you know I came through for y'all. So use my code DOM2K for $20 off tickets at SeatGeek. That's $20 off your first purchase with promo code DOM2K. Make sure you click the link in the description and comment section to download the app. I say I've never seen the NBA like this because, well, I quite literally haven't. For starters, we've got that one thing where the last two seeds now have got to play their way into those spots. We've only had that for a few years, and this year in particular is especially spicy because of it. This video is being written on the 23rd of January, where in the West, there are only 2 teams completely out of the playoff race, and in the East, that number is 2 or 3 depending on what you believe. Either way, that means 25 out of 30 NBA teams are currently battling for the right to playoff games. It goes deeper than that though. Look harder at the West, and there are only 4 teams currently considered comfortably above 500. This also depending on what you believe. As for the rest of the conference, seeds between 6 and 10 are damn near switching daily due to the razor-thin margins. One day, the Warriors look primed for a possible title defense as they are a winning streak out of 4th or 3rd. The next day, they're slated to have to win 2 games to even get 8th. Keep in mind that I just said the Warriors. That's another factor making this season so unique. Currently, the Lakers, Warriors, Suns, and Clippers all own seeds below 5th. I believe that'll change in due time, but there's also the very real possibility that those squads end up occupying 5 through 8 by the time this is said and done. If that were to happen, you'd have the last 3 teams that represented the Western Conference and a team that was definitely supposed to have done so by now, all playing younger upstart teams in the first round that still have something to prove. Say for instance, this young and very good Sacramento Kings team having to take on LeBron and AD for their first playoff appearance in ages. Or the Pelicans being tasked with defeating the defending champions as their rite of passage to the second round. I'm not saying either of those things couldn't happen. I'm saying A, that's fucking amazing and I'd love to see it play out. B, I don't think I've ever actually lived through a season where something like this would be the case on such a massive scale. The closest thing I can conjure up would be, I don't know, maybe 2015 when the West was so ridiculous that the 55-win Spurs and 50-win Mavericks didn't have home court in the first round. Of course, there was division rules and stuff making that weird, however, point remains. Also, maybe 2010 comes close. Either way, in those potential bottom 4 teams, you're looking at a defending champion and a lot of childhood superstars going up against guys that are trying to break through and own the future. That is a feature I don't think I've seen, and it'd be very poetic, almost like a script. Enough about the West for now though. What about the East? At the time of this recording, every team with the playoff spot is above 500. The top 6 teams, regardless of how you had them ordered, are more or less playing out exactly how we might have expected. After the Celtics, who are on top, everyone who's supposed to be above the play-in mark really is. At the rate it's going, we'd end up with the first round of something like Miami and the Nets. Meanwhile, there's also potential for Bucks and Cavs. I don't think I'm saying anything crazy by suggesting that those are both second round worthy matchups. Oh, while we're on the subject of how competition is overflowing, how many title contenders do you see? Before I answer that question, it is my duty to point out that thankfully, we still do not have a current super team. There's great teams, but there's not an overwhelming joining of talent overshadowing the competition. In either conference, I would argue the best you could do right now is guess who's coming out of them, more so the West than the East. But the point is that we've lived through seasons where we could call a champion before it even started. This is an amazing gift for those of us that suffered weak conferences and the super team era. That being said, between both conferences, I spy with my little eyes at least 6 teams that, if they were healthy, I'd be completely unsurprised to see them in the NBA Finals. That is not counting the teams that I believe are one trade away from being legit title contenders. And even if I don't think a trade would fix it, take for instance the Lakers. Recently, they've been competitive in about every game that they've played against some impressive teams, either losing at the last seconds or coming out with a W. They're totally unhealthy, LeBron is as good as ever on the offensive side of things, and Westbrook is at least tolerable while coming off the bench most nights. With all they've gone through, they're 2 games out of 6th seed. I might have screwed up making that one video because there is a realistic path to the Lakers and Clippers meeting as a 4th and 5th seed in the playoffs. In any case, I only bring that up to say outside of the true contenders at this moment, you could have a mid-seeded LeBron and AD going hunting in round 1 if they're healthy at the right time. That's only one of many scenarios for teams that may not go on to win the championship or come out of their conference, but could still make things really interesting against the right squad. Speaking of LeBron, the talent level in the league continues to be unbelievable, and it's creating some wicked situations. We're currently speaking from a place where, for the first time since Larry Bird, I'd actually say we're likely to have an MVP three-peat. Yes, Nikola Jokic is practically averaging a triple-double, and I would say load management would be the one reason they don't end up with the 60 wins I said they were worth at the beginning of the season. But of course, as usual, there will be arguments, and fairly so. Luka has his Mavs as a 4 seed depending on the day, whilst also flirting with the triple-double at 33 points a game. Jason Tatum has been MVP worthy on both sides of the ball as the Celtics have continued their dominance, and of course Joel Embiid and Giannis are in there as usual. So at this pace, I'd argue that if the MVP went to maybe 1 of 4 of those players, nobody could really be upset. We've had some interesting races, but this one has really got to be up there. The last thing I'll mention here is the rookies. Benedict Mathurin has at least got his name floating around the 6th Man of the Year race. Paolo Banchero is one of the most impressive rookies we've ever seen. Andrew Nembhard is a 2nd round pick contributing to what's been a successful season for the Pacers. Walker Kessler's production has thrown a whole new dynamic into how bad that Wolves trade is looking. I could really go on for a long time naming rookies, giving them their props, but all you need to know is that the league continues to be in good hands. And speaking of that, to top it all off, the NBA is currently airing Victor Wembanyama games on the NBA app in anticipation for his draft later this year. That is something I can confidently say I've not seen. That's how much of a game-changing prospect he appears to be. That's how much of a game-changing prospect is on the way. That's exciting for everybody regardless of where he lands. That's not even to mention that the consensus number 2 pick, Scoot Henderson, also appears to be a game changer for whoever gets him. Long story short, there are so many different things going on in the league at the same time concerning its past, present, and future. With that, there's something every NBA fan can enjoy, whether they're scouting, hanging on to a star that made their childhood great, or hoping their team can become the next dynasty. With both conferences having so many contenders and no super teams, considering the records being as close as they are, this season is primed to be interesting until the very last moment. And for my time watching the NBA, I simply can't remember a stretch where this many factors coalesced at once. What do you think about the 2023 season so far? Anything from the MVP to who you think will be the champion to who you think is going to make the playoffs, because we've got to narrow that 25 down to 16. Leave that in the comment section. Also be sure to hit the like button and hit the bell next to my name if you want notifications every time a new video drops. Of course, after you've hopefully subscribed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.